Hello everyone and welcome to the Colorado Jugger League's Mile High Open 2021. I'm your host Sebastian Seabass Wolf and I'm very excited for this bracket play match today. As a reminder, these are timed 100 stone games. Keep that in mind as we are playing. We've seen the Phoenix Lights, Reapers, Oklahomies, Desert Wolves, Ursae Majoris, Dranger, Spartans, and Rigger Tortoise all battling it out for the national championship title. Taking a look at our bracket for day 2, things are looking a little sparse up there. We've got the Desert Wolves and Ursae Majoris taking each other on today. Our last match saw the Phoenix Lights knocking the Reapers down to the elimination bracket where they are going to take on Rigger Tortoise to see who can keep their dreams of winning the MHO championship alive. Desert Wolves versus Ursae Majoris is a solid matchup against our number 2 seeded team, the Desert Wolves. Now, in case you don't know anything about Jugger and need to know a little bit of the basics around how this game is played, we're going to take a brief second to go over the rules and regulations of Jugger. Jugger is a competitive sport played between 2 teams. 4 enforcers armed with Pomfin and able to defend themselves, and 1 quick who has nothing and is the only player able to grab the ball in the center, known as the skull. After a countdown, the players enter the field and face off against each other in the center. The enforcers spar with their Pomfin while the quick fights for control of the skull. If a player is struck by a Pomfin, they drop for a set amount of time, temporarily taken out of the action. Using a variety of Pomfin from the spear-like slash or short and shield to the intimidating chain, an 8-foot ball on a rope, enforcers must work as a team to deal with their opponents while creating an opening for their quick to grab the skull. Once the quick sees an opening, they rush for the skull and then for the goal, placing the skull inside it and scoring a point for their team. With that out of the way, we can get right into our first match, Desert Wolves versus Ursae Majoris. Both of these teams have been strong powerhouses in the competition so far, and it's no surprise that they are still in the champion bracket. The Desert Wolves, our number 2 seeded team, have been rivals with the Phoenix Lights for some time. The two of them very contentious between each other, and will be fighting it out as hard as they can to try and beat the other for this championship title. Ursae Majoris and Desert Wolves both lining up and just about ready to begin our game today. Again, a second reminder, this is a stone count game. That means it is timed and there are no score caps per set. It is whoever scores the most in the entire timed sequence will win. A very solid right-hand start for Ursae Majoris, but on the other side, Desert Wolves also get a solid right-hand start, and their quick gets the skull first, and they're going to go ahead and put that in the goal, 1-0 very quickly for the Desert Wolves. Again, that really speaks to skull possession, right? Desert Wolves got the skull early on, and even though both sides had some serious victories, Desert Wolves are able to guide their enforcers in first and get themselves the win. Looks like Wolves are actually going to jog it in this time. They're going to hand it on over to Ursae Majoris, who are going to get the skull first, and we're going to see a charge on the side of Desert Wolves as they move in as a unit, trying to take down Ursae. Ursae is going to be forced to ice the skull. A bit of a stumble back there on chain as they each duel each other. Ursae Majoris and Desert Wolves, a bit of a quick wrestle, but it doesn't matter as Ursae Majoris rushes into the field. They're going to see what they can do to capitalize, and they cannot. Desert Wolves going to sweep them under the rug, and they are going to put it up 2-0. A valiant defense effort there by Ursae Majoris, but it was not quite enough for the absolute ferocity of the Desert Wolves, who managed to get themselves a solid recovery and point number 2 on the board. You'll hear that stone there in the background. That is the stones mentioned in the tutorial video. As a good indicator, know that anyone who is struck by a Pomfin will be down for 5 of those stone counts. If they're hit by a chain, they will be down for 8. It is a substantial amount of time out here on the field when only a handful of stones can determine a point. And we do see right now Ursae is doing a solid job of really wrapping the field. See a rather large chain wrap over there. I think that's Mjolnir on the far side is going to go down with the chain there on Ursae Majoris, but once again, Desert Wolves find themselves in possession of the skull, and they're going to walk it in for a 3-0 lead. Ursae's really doing a solid job in many of these 1v1s, and they are taking wins on the line, but it has not been enough. That being said, looks like there is a flag on the play. It is going to be play affecting, so Desert Wolves will not get that point on the board. It will continue to be 2-0 Desert Wolves' favor. We now see the sides squaring off on the line again. Sword and board rush on the side of the Wolves. Not going to be enough, though, as Ursae Majoris is going to take down the entire line this time. Beautiful work on their end, but the sword and boards from Desert Wolves cannot be stopped as Zano rushes through the entire team, takes them down, no goal scored, and Desert Wolves have possession. They are moving up the field in mass. Chain comes out, fires once again, taking down an Ursae Enforcer. They'll take down two. The Quick is going to try and make a little bit of a sneaky back play, but it's not going to be enough, and escorted in, Desert Wolves will cement that 3-0 lead on the board. Fantastic agility there by Zano, the sword and board player on the Desert Wolves. Sprints down that field in a stone and a half, manages to get every enforcer on the side of Ursae, stopping that goal in its tracks. 3-0, the name of the game, as all of our players rush back out onto the field. Desert Wolves once again jogging it out. They're going to let Ursae have possession of the skull as they take up a defensive stance. You can see a bit of a ring. Definitely looked like a little bit of a charge there on the side of Desert Wolves. We'll see if that comes into play a little later, but everyone has resolved it on the field. Everyone seems okay. Ursae still in possession of the skull. As their enforcers begin to move up, Desert Wolves' chain gets a solid hit, but now, unfortunately, their Quick is left alone. Unpinned enforcer, they're going to have to ice the skull, and possession goes away to the Desert Wolves. They've got it, and they're right on the goal. Unfortunate timing as the chain is going to miss. Chain is going to miss yet again, but it's not going to matter, and Desert Wolves are going to move it in 4-0 on the board. It's one of those things you have to be very, very careful when it comes to enforcers that are down on the field. They are going to get back up. They are going to take down your Quick. You have to make sure you cover that back field, and unfortunately, Ursae did not that time, and it cost them in the long run. 4-0 the score as all of our players rush back onto the field. Looks like they're going to take a very defensive position once again, but it's not going to matter as the Ursae begin to drop in huge droves. Several of them get taken down, and there is the whistle for halftime. Stones have expired, so at the half, 4-0 the lead for the Desert Wolves versus Ursae Majoris. Now, as we head into half number 2, I really think that Ursae needs to capitalize better on their field positioning if they want to win this one. They've had several missed pins that have been serious missed opportunities, and because Desert Wolves are constantly ceding skull possession to them, they need to use that to their advantage a little bit more heavily. They've got one of their fastest runners in the entire game out on the field right now, doing his best to kite away the Desert Wolves, buy time for his enforcers to get up, and it looks like he's going to do exactly that, as he is able to kite every single Desert Wolf away from him, and he will continue to retain possession of the skull. Multiple enforcers down by the goal on the side of Desert Wolves. They're not going to have a lot of room to capitalize and run back in on this. They're going to be taken down by the chain, and just like that, Ursae put a point on the board. Exactly what I was talking about. They need to be able to use that quick positioning, buy stones for their team, even if they're losing their 1v1s, and they can put points on the board, and they will do just that. 4-1 is the score. But Ursae is going to have to put points on the board faster than that if they want to eke out a win this time around. We can see both sides running to the line. This time, Desert Wolves are not going to jog it out. They are going to contest that flick, and they are going to get it. They're actually going to rush head first into the Ursae Majoris line. Every single enforcer goes down, and Desert Wolves put it away easy, 5-1. Desert Wolves do function exceptionally well in that offensive posture when they are moving quick towards that skull, but it can be very tiring, especially after a marathon tournament to sprint it out every single play. Desert Wolves are using their energy efficiently, knowing when they need to turn on that gas for any individual play. Once again, they're going to get skull possession first, but it's not going to be enough to hold it as they are going to be forced to ice the skull over to Ursae Majoris, but this time their sword and board is there, immediately knocks the Quick down. Sword and board duel there on the outside, but it looks like Desert Wolves will be moving in towards the skull. They are going to grab it. Maybe not sure. I think they are going to go down there. Looks like they will go down to the sword and board player on the side of Ursae Majoris as everyone begins vying for possession of that skull. Enforcers on the backhand side are going to take down several members of Desert Wolves. Chain will as well. Once again, Chain gets taken down, this time by the Desert Wolves Chain, and they are moving in to try and stop that play. Will they stop it? No goal. Live skull. Fantastic play by the Desert Wolves Chain. Is going to stop that point in its tracks. They are moving in as fast as they can, trying to get the pins before that count is back up. That 8 stone count from the Chain, buying just enough time for the Quick to move. They're going to try and maneuver themselves around once again, dodging left, right, and center. A Chain block from the Chain itself by the side of the Desert Wolves is going to keep them in play, and they are unable to capitalize. Once again, forced to ice away the skull, but this time I think the Quick is still trapped on the other side of the field. This time the Desert Wolves Chain will finally go down, and we're going to see several sides eyeing the skull. It is on the side of the Desert Wolves. If they can get it over there, they can score the point and put this to a 6-1. Ursae Majoris is putting an offensive back on the board. Several enforcers charging down the lane. They're going to go for it. They're going to dive it in, and they will get the point. That will put it 2-5 as the final whistle blows. Ursae Majoris not able to put points on the board fast enough, and the game will go to the Desert Wolves. Ursae Majoris will be knocked down to the elimination bracket, and Desert Wolves will move on to see what they can do in the winner's bracket. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, I will see you next time on the Colorado Jugger League.